Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you have been following me on social media or my YouTube shorts, you'll know that I have been house hunting. A few people have been asking me for a longer format video and to go into a bit more detail about all the places I've seen. So I decided I will do a more bloggy style video where I'm going to be talking you through the places that I've seen and also looking at it at the same time on my phone and just telling you what I didn't like, what I did like about it, where it was, how much it was, etc, etc. This video is probably going to be in two parts because I've seen quite a few places already. So yeah, on social media there was a lot of controversy as well about some of the properties that I saw and the service charges. So I'm going to be breaking that down a little bit more in this video as well. If you like this type of video, please let me know and like, subscribe, comment. Let's look at property number one. Okay, so this video caused a lot of controversy because of the service charge and also because I said it was my dream flat. Now, let me give a little bit more context because there is also an emotional element to this rather than just like a logical. So this property was in Swiss Cottage, NW3, and my granddad used to live right by this property. So there was an emotional connection there, which is one of the reasons I said it was my dream property. Not only was it a duplex, but it was also quite high up in the building, and I really love being high up, and the views were amazing. As I said in the social media video, you could see London Eye, you could see St Paul's Cathedral, and you could also see Wembley Stadium. Yes, there was going to be a building built in front of it, so some of the view would get blocked, but I'd still be able to see the London Eye, and on the other side Wembley as well, so that really wasn't a problem for me. But yeah, the point of controversy for this video was obviously the service charge because it was, I think, 11.5. I was initially told 8, and then when I looked into it, it was 11.5, and then when I looked into it a bit further, once they sent one of the documents, which took forever, as you know, as you guys know, it took forever to come, it said that it was going to increase by more than 10%, which would bring it up to about 13 grand a year. And yes, it's crazy. I did consider it at 11 because I had a plan. I planned to utilize the 90-day Airbnb rule because I travel quite a bit. As if you follow me on social media, you know that I travel quite a lot. So I did plan to utilize that, and then that would cover the service charge. So I wasn't phased about it because it was also in a really good area. But if you haven't watched the social media video, basically I put the offer in May. It was accepted in May. The initial letter that I got, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a letter that you get that states your offer has been accepted, these are the rules, and these are the negotiating points, and this is the date that we're looking to complete. And the date that we were looking to complete was the 25th of July, and you guys know we blew straight past that because of the tenant situation. And basically I just in the end had no confidence in the seller, and we got to mid-September, nothing had moved, so I just decided to pull out. And yes, they did call me again, and they basically offered a discount to continue, and I said no. But I love the fact that this was 2 bedrooms and it had 2.5 bathrooms, and I know one of the bathrooms didn't have a toilet, but my plan was to extend back into that back cupboard and add another toilet. And I fell in love with the views, with the area. I really do like the area, so it's kind of sad that it didn't happen, but at the same time a blessing, because when I found out that it was going to go up by 10%, I was like, this doesn't make sense anymore. The other thing with this property is that it was nearly at the 80-year lease or marriage value, I think they call it, whereby you would have had to extend the lease and pay to do that, and it would have been around 15 to 20 grand from the research that I had done, and that wasn't a problem for me because it would have increased the value of the property a little bit. So that doesn't really scare me, and I had a mortgage provider who would provide the mortgage for an 80-year leasehold property, so that wasn't an issue either. But as you know, yeah, didn't go for it. It was on the market for 365. I put in an offer initially at 325, I think, and then we negotiated and we landed on 332. But yeah, didn't happen, so let's move on to the next property. This property was the house in Shepherd's Bush, White City. It was above the A40, so I think it's the A40. So it's not in the White City, it's above that, near Hammersmith Hospital and Wormwood Scrubs, and I really liked that area. It was very close to Westfield, about 15-minute walk away, and as you all know, I am looking for a property to renovate, so the state of this property didn't really worry me. The bones of it look good, and I know, like, I'm not a professional builder or contractor, but when I know what to spot. I know, you know, I can spot the cracks, the damp, the subsidence, the issues that you can, I guess, feel or see in a property, and this one looked fine. I really loved the garden. It was a massive garden, and eventually you could probably send out the back to create a lovely open plan kitchen, living, diner. And also you could probably go up into the roof as well. Not a lot of other properties on that road had, so I wasn't sure if maybe there were planning permissions denied. I hadn't looked into it because eventually I decided not to go for it, as you know. But yeah, I love this property. It had a lot of potential. I went to see it even though that I thought it would go out of my price range anyway. I think it was the low 300s or the mid 300s that it was on at guide price. And when it eventually sold, it sold for 405, which, as I said in the video, I do regret not bidding for it because I really did like it. And 405 was at the very top end of my budget, and who knows, like, if then I offered 410 or 407, then someone else might have bid, and then we could have got into a bidding war, so it could have gone for much higher than 405. You never know. So I just have to accept that it wasn't for me. But yeah, I really kind of do regret not bidding for this house. And it was freehold, which meant there was no service charge or anything like that. It had a lot of potential. But yeah, we move. Next property. And now we come to the next property, which was it's Harlesden, but it was very close to Willesden Junction Station, so, you know, whatever you want to call it. It was on a decent street, and the house itself was a very nice house. I really liked the facade, and as you know, this garden was massive. It went so deep, so like there was so, probably shouldn't have said that, but whatever. It was a good proportioned house. I think in the video I said it was 2 bed. It was actually 1 bed, but in my mind I imagined extending out the back, and the current kitchen would become a 2nd bedroom, so that's why I think I said in the video 2 bed. And maybe some of you know this, maybe some of you don't, but I do like gardening and growing my own stuff, or trying to at least, and this garden would really help me do that. It was on a guide price of 215, and when I went to see it, I asked the agent, you know, has there been a lot of interest? And I could tell that there hadn't. So I was really considering it. I went to see this in August, by the way, so I was really considering it because it was 215, and I had a very strong feeling that it wouldn't sell for more than 300. So I was really considering it. Why didn't I go for it? Well, I have this thing where I really want to be in zone 2. And this is so stupid, but this is zone 2/3. And that means that transport costs would be pushed up. So, because even if it's zone 2/3, they class you as being in zone 3. So it increased your transport costs, right? So that was one thing. This flat was actually really close to my best friend. It was literally a 10-minute walk from her. So that was a plus point. The reason I didn't go for this property, even though I was so sure it would sell for a good price and it had so much potential, was 2 things. First is I wasn't sure if it was too much of a project because there was damp, there was mold, and on the outside you could see that some of the brick and the stonework was crumbling away. And that is out of my expertise. You guys know, if you watch my YouTube videos, I could do carpentry, I can make something look beautiful, I have tiled, I've put down flooring, but the bones of a building I haven't worked on, and that would definitely require some expertise. So that was the first reason. And then the second reason was just I wasn't in love with the walk from the station to the house. Now, it wasn't necessarily a bad walk. I didn't feel unsafe, but when I imagined having to do that every single day, it kind of made me feel a bit drained. It wasn't even that far. I think it was about a 10-minute, less than 10-minute walk, 9 minutes. But yeah, I don't know, I just had this feeling that I wouldn't enjoy it, and that's something that's constant and that I would have to do every single day or nearly every day. So I decided not to go for it for that reason, and I do slightly regret it, but you know, we move. Next property. All right, now we get to the next property, which was Islington, and I know I'm looking at Northwest and this is not Northwest, but I was very intrigued and curious. So, and this was the first auction house that I went to see, and I was very excited because auction houses online, they look too good to be true. And this was one of those cases where when I got there, I was like, this is so small. Like, I think it was on for mid 300s. So anything above that, it was like, I cannot fathom paying anything more than that for this. And auction houses usually go for more than their guide price if they sell it all. So I just could not fathom buying a property for that price when it was that small. I have to say, I did love the area. I think the facade of the building itself was beautiful. It was like one of those classic Islington King's Cross houses, and it was beautiful. But yeah, it was just small, and I couldn't imagine myself living there. I'm not sure what the service charge was. I don't think it was that high because it didn't stand out to me. And again, it was a project which I was, I'm looking for. But yeah, I just really did not understand. I mean, I understand it because of the location. If it was an investment, then probably someone would rent it out and they'd make good money on it. But to live in for myself, it just wasn't for me. So I didn't go for it. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the next one I posted was in Kensal Green, Kensal Rise area. And I really liked that area. I loved this apartment. If I loved the other one, I thought that was my dream flat, I also really loved this one. The living room was massive, much bigger than it needed to be. So I imagined like partitioning off the back and creating not only a second bedroom / office / creative studio, but then also having like an indoor balcony, because I recently got a lemon tree and I've got lots of other plants that I'm propagating. So I wanted to have, because this flat had no outdoor space, I wanted to kind of create an outdoor space but inside. So I would have created like an indoor closed off balcony, because the doors were also, they opened fully, but it was a Juliet balcony, so not really a balcony. So I would imagine having created a little section there. Definitely not my style and needed work, but it was move-in ready. I could have moved in straight away and been working on it whilst living there. It was a decent price. It was on at 350. And as you guys know, if you have followed the social media, you know that I eventually put in an offer of 320. But the problem with this one is it was an asset management company that owned this apartment. It was a repossession. Apparently, after a couple of weeks, they withdrew it, and it pulled out because there was a charge on the apartment, because there was 5 years worth of unpaid service charge, which amounted to about 20 grand. So they had to pull the apartment, which sucked because I was so sure I was going to get this one, and I'd already started planning living in the area and the renovations that I would do. The service charge was high. It was about 4 grand. I think with the properties I'm looking at, they're slightly lower in price because the service charge is higher. There's going to be a trade-off. It's either that the price is higher and the service charge is lower, or the service charge is a little bit higher and the price is lower. So I kind of know that, and I'm okay with that, because I also have to consider I'm getting a mortgage and how much I can actually afford. And as much as people said it in the comments, the service charge did not, for this one anyway, did not outweigh the extra I could have had for a mortgage. So, or my monthly mortgage payments. So it didn't, I've done the figures, I've done the math, I've got a massive Excel spreadsheet. It didn't outweigh, so that's why I'm considering the properties that have a slightly higher service charge. The thing with service charges, obviously it can increase, but historically this one had kind of been the same. So, and obviously history sometimes doesn't repeat itself, but it's a good indicator of, what's to come. So yeah, this one sucked because I really liked this one and I thought this was the one, but the communication from the asset management company was really bad, and I guess, yeah, it wasn't for me. Now we have the one bed in Barron's Court, and I really just went to see this one on a whim. I was like, let me just go. It wasn't that far away from where I was at the time, so I just went to see it, and obviously it needed work, but it was in a very nice building, I have to say, and in a very nice area. The problem for me with this one was that it was so far away from a train station. Like, I think I had to walk 20 minutes to get to the nearest train station, and that's just too far from me. Even though it was well connected with buses, I usually am not taking the bus. I mean, I guess it depends on where I'm living, right? But I imagine that I do spend some time in Shoreditch. One of my friends live in Angel. All of my other friends live in Northwest. Most of my other friends live in Northwest. So being here, I would have to get a train. Where I am currently, it's a 15-minute walk from the station, and I hate the walk. Like, 15 minutes might not sound like a lot for some people, and maybe if I'm in a more vibrant area where there's actually stuff happening on my 15 walk, it wouldn't feel so long. But the 15-minute walk that I currently do now to and from the station every day, or whenever I need to get to the train station, is long. It's really long, and I just didn't feel like I would want to do that every day, every other day. So that's one of the reasons I didn't go for this. I was also looking for a 2-bed. I am open to 1-beds, but I was looking for a 2-bed because I do want that separate office space slash creative space slash second bedroom slash whatever. And this was only one. But this did go for a really good price. It sold for £353,000, which for that area was a really good price. And you would probably have to spend around 30k on it because it did need new electrics and new plumbing for sure. But, you know, all in all, pretty good price for that area. I don't know what the service charge was because I didn't look into it. Yeah. The next 2 houses that I went to see, by the way, none of this is in chronological order. I went and saw all these houses in different orders, but the way I've been posting it is just random. So, yeah, I went to see these 2 houses before I even went to see the Barron's Court one, but they were both in East Acton, and they were both literally 1 street away from each other. So I went to see them within the space of half an hour. I liked the second one more than I liked the first one because the first one had a small garden, and the first one also had a clause where even though it was freehold, or a covenant, I think, even though it was freehold, you still had to ask the housing association of the rest of the area for permission to make any changes, including internal changes. So if you wanted to move the stairs, if you wanted to add a dormer, if you wanted to extend the back, you still had to ask them for permission, which I didn't like because that's not the point of freehold. And there was also still a small service charge, and I do understand why, because there was a common area out front, and it was for the upkeep of the common area and also the bins. So I do understand why there was a service charge, but that kind of also defeats the purpose of having a freehold property, right? So the first one I didn't like, wasn't in love with it. The second one was better, but the garden was small and it was overlooked. If you see the video, like it's very overlooked by the other houses. Although the next door had an apple tree and I think a pear tree, which would have been quite nice because I want to be growing my own fruit trees and vegetables and whatnot. So it would have been nice to, like, you know, give them some of my veg and they gave me some of their apples. But it had this weird bathroom where you had to go up a couple of steps, and I asked the agent, like, why do you think they would have done that? So if anyone in the comments knows why they would have made the bathroom higher, like a lot higher, it's not just a little bit for plumbing, it's about, I would say, 80 centimeters off the normal ground, or off the normal level. I don't know why they would have done that. So it made like future planning for maybe an extension out the back very difficult because you would have had to work around that. There also was not a lot of other houses that had gone up into the roof because their roofs were, as you saw, like a very specific style, so you wouldn't have been able to go up in the loft, and no one did in the back. In the back there was no dormers on that street, so I don't know if that was again planning or whatnot. I really did love that they were close to the station, they were close to East Acton, and they were close to Wormwood Scrubs. It was a 5-minute walk away to the open space, and that was the first time I've been to Wormwood Scrubs open space. I always associated Wormwood Scrubs with the prison, but there's actually so much more to the area than just the prison. And it was a massive open space, and it was lovely. I when you walk into it and you get deep enough, you kind of feel like you're in the countryside. You don't feel like you're in London anymore, and yet you still have the skyscrapers in the background in the distance. So I really did like it, and I like to go on walks and be in open spaces. So yeah, I liked it, but not enough to bid on it. And they eventually sold. The second one sold for, I think, 440, and the first one sold for more, for like 465. And to me, they just weren't worth it. So I decided not to go for those properties. I'm going to end this video here because I feel like it's already like 20-30 minutes long. If you have any other questions maybe that I didn't address on any of the properties that you saw and you were interested, maybe have questions about buying or auction or mortgages or whatnot. I'm obviously not an expert, but I am going through it myself, so feel free to comment down below. Please make sure you like the video, and if you want to see part 2, subscribe, and I will see you in part 2.